Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. This is going to be a bit of a different one. I want to share with you an altcoin that I think is going to do rather well, and it's an altcoin I think I've only covered once on this channel. I think it was nearly 3 years ago now. We looked at Sushi Swap, which is the altcoin in question, and we really looked at it because it did well back in the early days of DeFi. You know, I was about before DeFi was even a thing, and took part in Uniswap. And of course, Sushi Swap, which came after it. Now, this was the first time that we had kind of ever seen a vampire attack of a Dapp. Obviously, the vampire attack took place on Uniswap and birthed Sushi Swap, which was kind of like a clone, if you will, of Uniswap. And Sushi Swap, back in the early days of DEXs, did very well off the back end of that. Gave people another choice and another team to back. But obviously, it's innovated a lot since then. We now live in a world where there's hundreds of DEXs across hundreds of chains, and DEXs need to innovate and you know, do something different. And we actually haven't covered Sushi Swap in a while. It's not really even a project that I'm particularly that interested in, but from an investment point of view, there was something that pricked my ears up today, which is Saturday. This video will be coming out on Sunday, so tomorrow this video will be coming out, or today when you're watching it. Towards this project, and when looking at the charts, when looking at the market cap and what potentially this announcement means for Sushi Swap and it becoming maybe this, there's a race taking place right now with DEXs to become cross-chain because it unlocks this huge pool of liquidity. It will unlock farming opportunities and ultimately bring more liquidity into these DEXs, and that's how they're kind of judged by, you know, off the back end of it. And we're going to go over the news, which of course is Sushi Swap acquiring a Cosmos-based trading platform, a Cortex protocol, because this essentially could link the Ethereum sort of world with Cosmos through a DEX. And also Sushi Swap has this kind of, you know, they're trying to be cross-chain, cross-network, and this is a huge part of it, and it unlocks a hell of a lot of liquidity within Cosmos. We're going to look at it from a price point of view. Just keep your eyes on Sushi Swap, guys, because it is still, from its all-time high, 94% down. And at one point, it was 96% down. Now, just because it's 96% down, it can still go another 99% down. But if I think there's going to be this market turn, and we're potentially coming out of a bear market, it's not guaranteed. We're not in a bull market yet. We've spoken about trends, you know, what defines a trend, what defines a bull and a bear market in previous videos, so I don't want to butcher it on this one. But potentially we're looking at a trend reversal from this downtrend that we saw obviously on the back end of 2021, all sort of macroeconomically driven to now. And potentially I think Sushi Swap may start to gain a bit of spotlight and thus do quite well on the back end of it. And I think actually Sushi Swap could potentially be an easy 5 to 10x. And right now, what have we had? We've had the SEC come out and, of course, charge Kraken with essentially we've seen the SEC come out and basically go after a centralized exchange. And this is probably going to continue, you know, as the space gets regulated. And there's this real need for DEXs, decentralized exchange. You know, there always has been and there always will be. And I think potentially Sushi Swap, where it's positioned, may do quite well. Certainly if it moves to this sort of cross-chain ethos. And this is a massive step in it, in my opinion. And this is coming Q2. I think there's some good things coming for Sushi Swap Q2. It's very interesting because we also covered one. We're massive fans of IBC, which is one of the sort of protocols, the interchain communication layer for Cosmos, and the projects that build on top of it, or the projects that choose to implement it that could perhaps be on other chains. Now, we saw that DYDX, which was a large DEX on Ethereum, moved to Cosmos because they believed it was the right choice. We're massive fans of Cosmos and its ecosystem and how they've done things. Potentially, you could see a combining from Sushi Swap and what they're looking to do on Cosmos, which would connect these two ecosystems, give greater farming opportunities, give sort of greater interconnectivity. It makes it unique in many respects from other DEXs, you know, and this is just one aspect of how they're sort of connecting the rest of the world or the rest of the blockchain space together. So keep your eyes on this project, ladies and gentlemen. You know, and I also want to highlight something that we're a big fan of, which is bullish divergences. You could say, okay, well, you've had a wick there, so it's not necessarily a bullish divergence, but you can see actually you've had largely downtrending price, quite an aggressive uptrending momentum. And right now for SushiSwap, you're largely just in this sort of range. And once you clear this, many altcoins are in similar positions. So maybe you come back down and you look for that upside. That's double and then some. You're probably going to run into a bit of chop here. You've got a very thin, you know, it's not going to be long before this token potentially trades $3, $4, $5 plus potentially this year. So I'm not calling for this to happen overnight. Depends really on how aggressive the market is and a number of factors. But I do think this is an altcoin people should watch, as there may be some pretty interesting things coming for it in the future. So let's cover the news that sort of pricked my ears towards this protocol or this crypto. Having, you know, I'm not a massive fan of SushiSwap. I'm not a SushiSwap maxi or anything like this. You know, I don't really use Ethereum's DeFi anymore. Certain things I do, you know, if I need to get out of a token that I've had for a while, or which, you know, we were largely out of the market all last year. There's certain things that I do look at. I am looking at some other projects within Ethereum's DeFi, which I may share. You know, if you guys want a list of what I'm doing, I do have a Patreon. Feel free to join it. If it's not for you, you can always cancel your membership after a month. So SushiSwap acquires Cosmos-based trading platform Vortex Protocol. The acquisition of Vortex Protocol also means SushiSwap will be rolling out its services on Cosmos in Q2 this year. So this expands SushiSwap to a broader audience, and not only a broader audience, multiple chains, other layer ones within the Cosmos ecosystem. Sushi is making good on January's promise to launch a diverse trading platform, but instead of building it from scratch, it's gone out and bought one. The popular Ethereum-based decentralized exchange DEX announced the acquisition of Vortex Protocol today for an undisclosed amount. Built atop Say network, a blockchain using Cosmos's tooling, the on-chain trading platform will come under the Sushi umbrella as another product and will take a new name. So Vortex is not yet launched decentralized derivatives exchange and will offer users 10x margin on a variety of assets. Say Network and Sushi's newly acquired Vortex Protocol will launch on mainnet Q2 2023. So the next quarter, guys, up until July. So this acquisition is direct partnership between Say, Vortex, and SushiSwap team to help bring to market the first fully on-chain perpetual DEX via SushiSwap. So there are other DEXs that are perpetual that are claiming to do this, but as a trader, you know, I don't use any DEXs at all for the future side of things. I might use them if I want to get into a small altcoin that I can't get, but you know, sexes have kind of caught up with this trend, and you've got things like KuCoin and Mexi and all these others that are, you know, not or getting to become bigger centralized exchanges, but they facilitate very small altcoin buying. So there's been this kind of shift away from using a DEX full stop, right? Unless you really have to. So this is from SushiSwap CEO Jared Gray. The co-founder of Say Network said that conversations around the acquisition began at the end of the year. SushiSwap to launch on Cosmos. The move also means that SushiSwap will be the first of the Ethereum applications to make a move over to the Cosmos ecosystem. This is what I'm excited about. Another Ethereum native derivatives DEX called DYDX has also signaled that it would aim to launch on Cosmos in Q2. The advantage of building on Cosmos is that it lets developers spin up blockchains specifically tailored to the project needs. For modification, the network's consensus mechanism or opting to run a native validator set rather than turn to Cosmos for shared security. It's all in the developer's hands, says Jog. We've chose to make use of Cosmos SDK because it's extremely modular and extremely easy to get chain off the ground, the Say Network co-founder told Decrypt, and then you can tweak whatever you want. So the purpose built for spinning up decentralized exchange explained, the Say team has adjusted block process on chain, decreasing finality to 300 milliseconds and introducing a feature called parallelization that boosts up to 22,000 orders per second on the internal testnet. So this is huge, and if they manage to do this successfully, it could be quite good. And it's also ultimately going to bring spotlight to SushiSwap, launching on Cosmos. Keep your eye on this altcoin. I'm not going to be personally buying it here. I'll see what happens. We've got a very volatile week ahead of us, but I'm going to keep my eye on it because I think you may get something out of this, to be honest with you. Potentially. We'll see what happens. It's quite a nice double bottom here that you may look to break out of. So this is always going to be a trade for me, by the way. I'm not a massive believer in SushiSwap. Maybe I'm wrong for saying that. I don't know. It's not really something, it's not my area. I don't really use much of Ethereum's DeFi. But certainly this pricked my ears up to it, being a fan of Cosmos and what they're doing. Providing that the rest of the market stays in check, this coin may not only catch up, but do quite well. So have I got anything else for you? Also, it's got a relatively small market cap. It's got significantly smashed throughout the bull market, like many things did. It had an all-time high price of, where are we? We'll just take a look on here. Now, it doesn't have to go back to all-time highs, but I'm just saying from a trade point of view, from a potential, shortish term investment, $24 dollars. So, you don't need it to do that well for you. But I do think that DEXs are quite hot right now. It's one of the larger DEXs on Ethereum. It's now bridging over to Cosmos. They're doing a number of interesting things. They're trying to be inter-chain, and they're continuing to kind of expand and grow. So something to pay attention to, guys, and keep your eyes on. It's, again, up to you guys whether you decide you want to take that investment or you want to take that trade. It's not really it's definitely not a recommendation. It's just something that I'm looking at and going to be paying close attention to moving forwards. But again, right now, not looking to really invest in anything. Having invested at the start of the year, and done very well off it. More just seeing what the sort of lay of the land is from, or certainly going into this week where we've got things like the CPI and a number of other things. So all I've got for you in this video, guys. You enjoyed the content, like as always, appreciate it. So as a comment, and I'll catch you all in the next YouTube video. Thanks a lot for watching, ladies and gents.